Completing 16 or more years of education is the primary driver for longer life expectancy, higher national earnings, and increased civic participation. These 16 years form the foundation of a country's economic and social stability. For decades, the task of tracking who reaches this milestone has belonged to legacy organizations like the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. But relying on these top-level national reports creates a facade of understanding. Boiling an entire country down to a single average smooths over the numbers, hiding the massive internal inequalities playing out right inside those borders. To find the true distribution of global education, the Global Flourishing Study recently surveyed over 200,000 individuals across 22 diverse nations. Plotting their findings by country reveals a massive spread. Israel sits at the top, with an estimated 53% of its population holding a higher degree. At the opposite end, India and Tanzania sit at roughly 1%. A geographical ranking implies that opportunity is a shared national experience. It treats a country like a single monolith, masking the reality of who actually has access to those classrooms. To find out who is truly receiving a higher education, we have to look past the national averages and increase the demographic resolution of our data. Statisticians do this through disaggregation. Instead of looking at a nation as a solid block, you break it down into smaller, specific demographic slices, starting with household income. Across almost all 22 countries surveyed, the results here are predictable. Those in top income brackets consistently hold 16 or more years of education. However, slicing those same national blocks by employment status shows that a college degree doesn't always lead to the same economic role. In highly industrialized nations like the United States, Germany, Japan, and Australia, a significant portion of highly educated individuals aren't in the traditional workforce. In Australia, roughly 25% of the population with at least 16 years of education identify their employment status specifically as homemaker. Look at Poland and you find a different pattern. Polish individuals running their own businesses are significantly more educated than those working for an employer. 44% of the self-employed hold tertiary degrees, compared to just 33%. The Japanese population with the highest educational attainment has a distinct statistical signature. They tend to be younger, they are predominantly female, and 41% of them report their marital status as separated. Apply those exact same intersecting variables to Brazil, and the profile flips. Brazil's highly educated demographic leans older. There is practically no gap between male and female attainment, and they're much more likely to be divorced rather than separated. Japan and Brazil present opposite educational realities. If you only look at their top-level national averages, these highly specific, culturally ingrained demographics vanish completely. For years, social science studies have operated with a geographic blind spot. Academic research has heavily favored weird nations, countries that are Western, educated, industrialized, rich, and democratic. By focusing strictly on these highly developed areas, legacy global institutions effectively left a global South out of the detailed demographic picture. The Global Flourishing Study fills in these gaps. Their dataset provides respondent-level data for non-OECD nations, bringing places like Egypt, Kenya, Nigeria, the Philippines, and Tanzania into the analysis. Measuring the rest of the world shows that the link between education and employment in the West does not apply globally. While 31% of unemployed Australians hold a tertiary degree, in Nigeria that number drops to just 2%. In Tanzania, only 1% of those working for a formal employer have reached this level of education, compared to 65% in Israel. The amount of education a person receives is dictated by the specific intersection of a region's culture, the local political landscape, and their demographic identity. Effective education policy cannot be aimed at a whole country. It must be precision-targeted at the hidden socio-demographic gaps that define who actually makes it into the classroom.